Offer is on the table. It's good, but you think it could be better. Maybe the compensation is slightly below what you're hoping for. Maybe there's a term in the offer that doesn't quite work for you. Maybe you want clarity on something that the offer leaves a little ambiguous. And now you're facing a question that makes a lot of attorneys anxious. Should I negotiate? And if I do, will it just blow up the opportunity? I'm Andrew Wilcox, legal recruiter since 2003. I've seen hundreds of these negotiations. I've seen them go well, and I've seen them go poorly. And I want to give you a framework for how to negotiate a lateral offer effectively without creating unnecessary risk. It's kind of ironic. Attorneys who are paid sometimes thousands of dollars an hour to negotiate for others oftentimes have a tough time negotiating for themselves. This is where we could help. So the first thing to understand is that negotiation is expected. Law firms make offers expecting there will be some back and forth, particularly at the partner level, particularly when the economics are significant. Negotiation is a normal part of the process. The firms that are serious about wanting you are not going to pull an offer because you asked reasonable questions or made reasonable requests. They may say no to what you're asking for, but they won't penalize you for asking. The firms that react poorly to good faith negotiation are telling you something important about how they operate, and that's useful information. The second thing to understand is that bad negotiation can hurt you. There's a difference between good faith negotiation and behavior that signals you're difficult, unrealistic, or primarily motivated by money in ways that makes the firm question the relationship. Negotiation that focuses on material terms, that's grounded in market data or legitimate concerns, and that's conducted professionally is almost always fine. Negotiation that's arbitrary, that seems designed to extract every possible concession, or that comes across as entitled rather than collaborative, can absolutely damage the relationship before it starts. The line between the two is about tone, substance, and reasonableness. And also, after you've asked and they've given, going back and asking again and given, there's a point where you're going back and needling them as opposed to coming through and saying, these are the things that I want to talk through. And if you give me those things, let's move forward in a good faith basis. If the base compensation or guaranteed draw is below what you believe your market value is, or below what you were making at your current firm, it's reasonable to make the case for a higher number. But you need to support that case with data, market comparables, your actual portable book, revenue projections. I'd like more is not a negotiation position. Based on my analysis of my portable book and market rates for attorneys at my level in this practice area, I believe the appropriate range is X to Y. If the offer includes a compensation guarantee for 1 year and you believe you need 2 years to fully transition your book and establish yourself, that's a reasonable ask. Firms understand that transition takes time, and a request for a longer guarantee period is often granted if the justification is sound. Origination credit and compensation formula. If the offer is vague about how compensation will be determined after the guarantee period, or if the origination credit structure is unclear, those are terms worth clarifying and, if necessary, negotiating. You need to know how your work will be credited and how that credit translates into compensation. If there's non-compete and restrictive covenants, if the offer includes a non-compete or client non-solicitation provision that you believe is broader than reasonable, it's worth negotiating. Many firms have standard language that can be modified if there's a specific concern. Title and equity timing. If you're being offered a non-equity role with a vague path to equity, and I see this all the time, it's reasonable to ask for clarity on the criteria and timeline. If equity partnership is contingent on performance metrics, you should understand exactly what those metrics are and agree to them. Start date and transition logistics. If the proposed start date doesn't give you adequate time to wrap up matters at your current firm or to manage the client transition thoughtfully, That's definitely worth discussing. Now let's talk about things you shouldn't negotiate. Some things are either non-negotiable or will hurt you if you try. Firm policies that apply to everyone, billing requirements, standard benefits, firm-wide governance structures. These are institutional, and asking for individual exceptions makes you look like you're not a team player. Terms that are trivial relative to the overall package. Negotiating over small details when the major terms are favorable makes you look a little petty. Anything that suggests you're not genuinely committed to the opportunity. If you're negotiating multiple offers against each other in a way that feels like an auction rather than a deliberate evaluation, firms will disengage. And then how to raise the negotiation in a tone that works. When you're ready to negotiate, the conversation should be direct, professional, and appreciative. Start by thanking them for the offer and reiterating your genuine interest in the opportunity. Then frame your requests as clarifications or adjustments, not demands. So, an example. I'm very excited about the opportunity and I appreciate the offer. There are a few areas where I'd like to see if there's flexibility, and I wanted to discuss them with you directly. First, on the compensation structure. Based on my analysis of my portable book and the market for attorneys in my position, I was hoping we could discuss whether there's some room to adjust the guaranteed base to whatever that number is. Second, I'd like to understand more about how origination credit will be assigned after the guaranteed period, particularly for clients I bring with me versus new business I develop at the firm. That framing is respectful, substantive, and non-confrontational. It invites a conversation rather than drawing a line. So what do you do if they say no? If the firm comes back and says they can't accommodate your requests, you have a decision to make. If the original offer is still attractive enough that you'd accept it, then yes, accept it gracefully and move forward. I appreciate your considering my requests. I understand the firm's position, and I'm still very excited about the opportunity. I'd like to move forward. Sam. If the answer is no, if the terms they're offering genuinely don't work for you, then you need to be willing to walk away. But be sure that you're walking away for the right reasons, not because of ego, or because you're anchored to a number that isn't realistic. So let's get into the timing of it. Don't negotiate too early. Wait until you have a formal offer in writing. Trying to negotiate before there's an actual offer makes you look presumptuous. Some firms like to lay down markers. Some attorneys like to lay down markers. My suggestion that I tell candidates is to keep your suggestions vague, to keep your numbers vague, because you don't want to be locked into something. Let them make the first pass and then go back and negotiate that. A final note on leverage and good faith, though. You have the most leverage when the firm genuinely wants you and when you have alternatives. If you're the candidate they're most excited about and you have another strong offer on the table, your negotiating position is very strong. If you're a marginal candidate, or if you don't have alternatives, your leverage is limited. Negotiate carefully and don't overplay your hand. This is where I'm often very helpful as a recruiter, is letting people know what is reasonable and what is not reasonable, and what they should try to negotiate for if there's some meat left on the bones. But regardless of leverage, negotiate in good faith. The goal is not to extract every possible concession. The goal is to arrive at terms that are fair, that reflect your value, and let you start the relationship on a good ground. Negotiation done well strengthens the relationship. It shows that you understand your value, that you're willing to advocate for yourself, and that you can have difficult conversations professionally. Those are all qualities firms want in a partner. I'm Andrew Wilcox. This has been the Lateral Lawyer Brief. If you'd like to have a confidential discussion about your career goals or how to negotiate compensation and a potential move, please email me at andrew@wilcox-legal.com. As always, grateful, Andrew Wilcox.